you tend to find entrepreneurs are the and all, end all. When I start something, it is me going to the bank. It is me doing the reconciliation. It's me calling the auditor. It's me calling the client. That's the biggest mistake we tend to make.
Are you built to scale? Flora Mutahi, the founder of Melvins Tea, gives us some really interesting data on small and medium-sized enterprises in Kenya.
Africa has the most number of entrepreneurs. 22% of entrepreneurs are from Africa. Now, unfortunately, they tend to be micro and small. Of 100%, how many do you think are micro and small? 95% are micro and small.
In this episode of Financially Incorrect Business Edition, we dive into the story of Melvins Tea. Flora tells us about how she created her market and everything that she did to build her business from the ground up.
Delegate it, automate it, systemize it, or trash it. You shouldn't be doing so many things. Get other people to do it. And that way, then you chase the client. So it's not get other people to do it and you go on holiday. You go chasing the client. Then you say, okay, I've achieved this level of client. Now, actually, I want to get a bigger client.
She also talks to us about a devastating loss that the business suffered.
I don't know who was around, who had or whatever. Within a week, we were hit in the office and we were robbed everything. And I mean, everything other than heavy machinery. That was a really low moment.
Yeah.
So after you get over the shock, and you say, I'm insured. It's okay. You think it's okay. So I go to my insurance and that was another experience. Wow.
Hey guys, this is Barak from Financially Incorrect. I am here to say thank you so much for the 50K plus people who have subscribed to Financially Incorrect. We really do appreciate you. When we crossed 50K, we had a nice, small, intimate party at our offices and we celebrated this milestone. I have convinced the powers that be that if we can get to 100K by December, we will throw a big party to celebrate with all of you guys. And now we have 3 different segments for you guys to watch. There's Financially Incorrect Business Edition, Financially Incorrect Uganda Edition, and Financially Incorrect, the regular Kenyan edition. So please do, if you like our content, subscribe. If we get to 100K by December, we will throw the biggest party in East Africa. So please do subscribe. Hey everybody, welcome back to Financially Incorrect Business Edition. It's a Tuesday, so we have a business money story for you. One of the biggest in the country. I'm 100% sure you guys will love this. I think we've been pursuing this for about, I want to say like 2 months. Maybe. I think for the first time that we wanted to get this interview done. So hopefully you guys will love it. And it's a story that we'd really enjoy. Before we get into it, let me just shout out someone on Twitter who I think has been listening to Financially Incorrect by the time we're recording this, 10 days in a row. And she tweets it every time she puts, I'm assuming it's a lady. So she's called Goddess Celine. And her handle is Findom Celine. And she says, day 10 of listening to Financially Incorrect while at the office. Work is a bit slow today as I wrap up an audit assignment. So I'm tuned into Moses Kemibaro's episode on building a personal brand and AI-driven digital growth. And your takeaway is you've got to invest in your personal brand. Whatever you build in the world is great. But in fact, the people that have confidence in you as an entrepreneur stroke person who sets up something is the currency that you will use to do other things. So, please do keep continuing. Please do keep watching and commenting and sharing as we continue to build this Financially Incorrect community. And we will keep trying to give you more and more lessons. I have my notebook here today, which happens very rarely. But it's because I was trying to prep sufficiently for this interview. But so with me today is none other than Flora Mutahi, who is the founder and CEO of Melvins Tea. Welcome to Financially Incorrect.
Thank you.
I'm 100% sure I'll need the book because I was trying to. As I was trying to prepare for this, I watched. I think maybe 3 or 4 interviews, and then there's a podcast interview that you've done as well.
Okay.
So I was trying to get as much information as I could, so that I make sure I ask questions that are worth your time, so to speak.
Slightly different.
Yeah, but anyway, so welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
My first question, like I mentioned, always left field, is what do you think are the remaining secrets of the world? What do you think people haven't quite figured out yet?
What next?
In what context?
We know what is.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to school, you do the history, you live life. What's going to happen in the next few minutes?
Mm-hmm.
There's predictive, there's AI now running that can sort of whatever, but we don't know. Who would have predicted COVID?
Right.
Actually it looked like a dream. And then somebody then says, hey, 100 years ago, this happened. The influenza, they came, they healed, and we went on. So every time actually people would mention it to me, that's what I would say. We will heal and we'll get on, but we don't know.
Is that something that you'd want to have the ability to do, though? It's almost psychic, no?
Yes, it is. Well, no, I'm a believer. So
Yeah.
For me, it's more like I just believe in God. And you live a day at a time.
Yeah.
But you asked me what is the
What's
one
the
thing
thing,
we haven't.
what's the thing that we'll never really get?
That is
what
one
next?
thing we'll
Yeah.
never really get. We just
Yeah,
know where
I
we're
think maybe
going,
people are
why
trying to
we're here.
even chase that, try and figure out what
Well,
really
yeah,
is next.
I guess that's even sci-fi, and people try and say that we know what's coming, but we don't. We
Yeah.
really don't. And it's in all spheres. It's all spheres. Whether it's medicine, whether it's tech, whether it's just doing life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And that's, I think, what also keeps us challenged.
Yeah. What actually, maybe I'll literally off of that. Let me ask you now, because I think the last interview I watched, you said you're in a space now where you're really thinking about your legacy.
Yes.
What's challenging you right now?
Well, my journey, I started straight out of college. I tried to work as an auditor for 9 months, didn't work. So I went into the entrepreneurial world. So about 28 years in, I just got bored. It's the same script, different cast, bigger problems, bigger issues, bigger this, bigger that. And I'm very growth driven. So it's when I sat back, which was early last year, and I said, what more could there be? And then I remember during COVID, I got everything slowed down, and I started mentoring entrepreneurs to actually scale their businesses. And I thought, why don't I do this? In fact, somebody's the one who noticed. They said every Friday, because we used to do it every Friday, do you notice you're on a high? I said, no, actually, I've never noticed. And they're like, you are. And I went back and I realized I love it. I love sharing my knowledge and sharing what I've learned over 28, now 30 years. Mm-hmm. So last year what I did is I retreated. I put my thoughts in a book, which actually should be out soon, called Brewed to Last. Mm-hmm. And I have 10+1 principles that I say, if you want to build a business that is foundational, that will last the test of time, these are the 10 principles that you have to put in place. So, of course, I'm a perfectionist, so we're always cleaning up. But the book has gone to print. Okay. So it should be out very soon.
Okay.
And that's then when I said, actually, why don't I take this a little further? And I have now started coaching and mentoring slightly larger businesses because the startups have their own plethora of issues, which I was there so many years ago. I am putting something together for them, but I've said for them, maybe they can start by reading the book. But for businesses that have begun, but now they're in stagnation, you've been making money, but you're not moving. You're starting to suffer from burnout. You're starting to feel the weight on your shoulders. Those are the people now who I say are very ripe for scaling. Because scaling a business is not growing a business. And this is what people don't understand.
Yeah.
So I take them through that. And it's been a pleasure. I've done couple, quite a number. I've probably, by October this year, I'll have done a year of just, I do 8-week sprints. I'm actually going to extend it to 12, but with 6 months support, because transformation doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. But it's a great pleasure. We just graduated a class yesterday, and you should have seen me from morning. I was just glowing on a high, because it's mistakes I've made, and my reasoning comes from I've struggled for 30 years. I didn't know business. I sort of learned with my own mistakes, and that's expensive. So it was always organic growth, this step and this step and this step. So I've trained myself a lot. I've learned a lot. I've gone to every single class I can. I've read every book I can. And I just said, what if I could make this shorter for others so that we can also start chasing a trajectory of a number that I found. Africa has the most number of entrepreneurs. 22% of entrepreneurs are from Africa. Now, unfortunately, they tend to be micro and small. And let me shock you. When I'm saying, and how many? Guess how many?
Of the 22 the
total number of 100% are micro and small.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, of 100%, how many do you think are micro and small?
Based off of what you're saying, I would assume like somewhere in the 90s.
Yes, 95% are micro and small. So for me, I'm like, we need to change.
Mini small.
Yes. In fact, there's a notion that is saying, actually, perhaps Africa's entrepreneurs are survival. They're on survival mode. I couldn't get a job. I decided to start a business. Or for females.
Are you laughing?
For women, sometimes it's I want to just be with my family, so I want to start a business. But we don't start businesses to scale them. So I'm saying, why can't I put my 30 years of experience and see what we can get? Yeah. So the purpose actually for even people in my class is not just to run a business. It's to run a business to scale. So my poor students, I track them, I trace them, and I say, what are we doing? What's the next big thing we are doing? When I get a bright idea, I share with them. and start challenging them just to think bigger, do more. We need to change this trajectory of the African continent.
Yeah.
And secondly, my other reasoning is, who better than an entrepreneur to solve problems? We've got so many challenges on our continent, from whether it's food security, whether it's, just, solar greening is such a big thing. We are blessed with so much sun. What can we do with it? There's so much we can do. And so for me, we empower the entrepreneur to learn business skills as much as they learn the tech. I mean, we're very good in tech, or we pick up tech quite easily, but you tend to find the business acumen is not there that follows. Actually, it's something we also need to do to influence our curriculum.
Yeah.
We need to start going in the American way, where a degree, by the time you start specializing, even if it's a business degree, you have done everything. You've done psychology, you've done history, you've done whatever. And that's perhaps going to be my next
frontier.
My next frontier to start also changing policy and the way we look at entrepreneurship, because I just feel it is what keeps the economy going. And it's not only just Africa, it's global. Yeah. So if we can empower them, grow them, let them land on our shoulders and leapfrog, we will see a great change on this continent.
Okay. So I have two questions based on just what you've said. The first one is, because you're almost, getting to just about 30 years of business, of building this fantastic brand, who my wife, by the way, is a fantastic consumer of
free samples right there.
Fantastic consumer. In fact, she told me, when I told her yesterday I was interviewing, she was like, if they come with any samples, please
will send her
please
samples.
Make sure. Anyway, so
what's her name? I love
her name is Claire. Claire. So just for starters, what leads to the boredom that you sort of got to when you're waking up last year and you're feeling? Because I would assume, being on this other side or somewhere in the middle of, not in the middle, like maybe like just started my journey on this side.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about building this successful brand and you're exporting stuff globally and all of these things.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard for me to foresee a day where I wake up and I'm like, this is not doing it for me anymore. Especially something that you've built literally ground up.
Don't get me wrong. I still spend my time there, but now I'm more the guide, heading perhaps into chairman. So it's more like let others do that. Let others, do the grind. It's work. Business is work. And actually, if you want your business to succeed, it is structures and systems. So they don't change. Client onboarding will remain client onboarding. Client offboarding, hopefully you're not offboarding them. Onboarding staff, offboarding staff. You're always creating. And that's what I said. It's just bigger challenges. So let's say my marketing budget used to be X. Now my marketing budget is bigger. We used to go straight to radio and TV. Now you've got a whole plethora to choose from. So it's just, it is more the monotony of the growth and the grind. And I'm a creator. I love creating. I by the way, I innovate most of my products, of course, by listening to the consumer. So, that I will continue to do. So it's not like I'm going anywhere. It's just I've moved away from the day-to-day and left it to others. And it's brilliant because then I'm coaching them and mentoring them too. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. I've gotten off their back.
Yeah, okay. Then the second question before we really get into the story is, I know you've talked about the coaching and the class and the book that's going to come out, but are you able to give me like a fundamental difference between scaling a business and growing the business? Like, what are the things that just fundamentally, if you're starting the business, you're doing this, you're like, this is not built for scale?
Yes. Yeah. In principle, if you build something and you do it today out of memory, let's say you figured out how to do something. So let's say you run this podcast, you figured out how to do it. If you don't come to studio today, can you just ask somebody else to step in? And that's that's the fundamental difference. So it's like getting out of your head, documenting it, sharing it with others so others can do exactly what you're doing, which gives you freedom to then spend your time where you want to be. So now I have the freedom to create because that's what I like. As opposed to, you tend to find entrepreneurs are the end all. When I start something, it is me going to the bank. It is me doing the reconciliation. It's me calling the auditor. It's me calling the client. That's the biggest mistake we tend to make. And I know we make it because we say, I don't have the money to bring in somebody. But you will never have the money if you continue like that. So document it. Try and start with, we have VAs today. We have, you can get somebody and pay them 3 times a week to come into work. You can get these, they call it factorial now, CFOs and ETC. Fractional. Sorry, I always get that wrong.
Yeah.
The fractional model. So there are ways now today where you can actually hand over so that you can spend time. What is a business? A business is literally selling a good or a service to somebody else for a profit, right? So does it have to be, well, I always say entrepreneurs, it is best if it is you. But also when I brought in the client, somebody else can service the client while I go and bring in another one. But what you tend to find is I bring in 3 or 4. I'm so busy servicing them, I actually don't have time to go and bring in another one. And that's why my business will not grow. So today there are other ways where you can bring in. And then let's face it, I'm sorry to say this with all due respect. It's not like you can find labor pretty reasonably in this side of the continent. I mean, I've traveled and I look at some paychecks and I'm like, wow. And sometimes if they're simple jobs, I keep saying delegate it, automate it, or systemize it or trash it. You shouldn't be doing so many things. Get other people to do it. And that way, then you chase the client. So it's not get other people to do it and you go on holiday. You go chasing the client. Then you say, okay, I've achieved this level of client. Now, actually, I want to get a bigger client. And you go that way. And that's what keeps an entrepreneur sharp and on the edge and growing.
Do you think sometimes it's like a fear of like, I'm afraid this person won't treat this client the way I would treat them, and so I won't let this thing go? Or a fear of, I may not even get another client, so I'll just work on this one. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. It does. And it's actually all of the above. So the first one is, I think I'm the best at everything. Who told you? Who said so? Try it. And it's also learning the art of delegating. So I'll perhaps give you my position and say, I want you from now on to be doing all my content creation. Let's say that's something that is a drag. But I will give you the guide and I'll give you the framework. So you'll make a couple of goofs. But you've taken off maybe 20% of my time the first time. You goof a little bit, we go to 30%, we go to 40%, and then is the goof really fundamental? I'm not giving you my bank details. I'm not giving you my biggest client. So growing you and being patient enough. So one of the things entrepreneurs suffer from because they're impatient to bring in is they don't have the patience to delegate. And it's not to abrogate, because abrogating is where I give it to you and I run away and I say, oh, you see, guys, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Delegation doesn't work. It does work. You just have to be patient enough. And then you have to get out of your head the way you want it. The other way we delegate is I come and tell you, step in my shoes. This is what I need you to do. This is what I'm trying to achieve by. No, I need to get out of my head and be very clear. There's some even I encourage them, put a script down. Call Safaricom today and call them next week and call them next month. You will find the same script. It's even funny. But that is how you scale businesses. Sam Walton did not scale Walmart by being the one doing everything. Absolutely not. It is really about systemizing. Look at KFC, look at McDonald's. But their fast chains are the easiest ways to understand how to scale a business. So delegate it, put it there and train, have the patience. Then you said something about managing the client.
Yeah.
If you manage a client as a relationship, as opposed to, what do they call it? Functional. I've come in, this is what, yes, Mr. So-and-so, we're going to service, we're going to do your audit, and you walk out, then you don't have a relationship. But if you come in and you as the CEO meet Mr. So-and-so and we just have coffee, we don't even need to do work. The team then gets to do the work. If the team makes a mistake, Mr. So-and-so will pick the phone and call you. And you have a time to come and mend that relationship. Of course, you have a properly delegated team and everything. But these are the issues. You asked me about fear. These are the issues that you tend to find SME sort of fearing. Nobody can deal. The other one I hear a lot is, my client will not let me go.
Yes.
You are not born with your client. So it's not, and even the children, we let them go.
Yeah.
So it's just walking through your client through that same thing. So I assume I've got a very possessive client. I started with him, which all of us did. I'll walk in with so-and-so and say, Jane is a protege. She's learning what I do. And soon you'll be dealing with her. And the client will say, if it's not you, it's whatever. Fine, I will meet that client later. I'll come back. And I'll be like, with all due respect, do you really want me to remain at this size? Look at the size of your business. Look at the size of mine. I want to grow. I have ambitions. What is your challenge? So they'll tell you, oh, I think you're not dealing with me as nicely or etc. Fine. What if I guarantee you I will be having a meeting with Jane before she comes to see you? I'll be having a debrief meeting with Jane. slowly you'll tend to find they will let you go because you've built a relationship. So stop being transactional is something I also tell my entrepreneurs. Be relational. Today I went to see a client. I have not met him for 28 years.
28 years.
No, maybe 25. Yeah. He started in Kilimani. I used to go there, and then he moved to Babadogo. I've been trying to get him. We finally connected today, and I went to see him. So we met him with the team, and then the team walked out, and we just caught up. Back to relationships. Yeah. I started with Chandarana, my first client.
Yeah.
I can call Anil, and we have a beautiful a beautiful conversation. And even when things go wrong, he knows, and I know we're coming from a point of trust. We will work it out.
Yeah. Amazing. I think, probably all entrepreneurs who are here will probably sign up, and they should. I want us to get into your story now and into the story of how I guess you built the fantastic company that you have.
Yeah.
So to start with, where did you grow up and how did you grow up? What was your environment like?
Grew up, I was born in Nairobi. My father was a banker and my mother was a serial entrepreneur. So lunch was the big thing in our house. We went home for lunch right through primary school. Can you imagine when everybody's playing?
You're going home for
lunch. We're going home for lunch. And but at those lunch tables, we always spoke business. There was always something they were doing. I mean, my mother has, she's a chartered secretary, has run her own secretarial bureau. She has tried chickens. She's one of the, you know how you follow the quail story? She did chickens, she did school bags, and somehow this business would come home. I guess we lived on a larger property, so she'd always, build a shed and would be doing this, would be plucking chickens and should be selling them and they have to be picked, I don't know at what time. So there was always a conversation around business. Then my father was an avid developer. So he was a banker, yes, but he was an avid developer. So you'd always be. I mean, I even remember stories of my mom carrying stones and cement in a saloon car because the contractor needed this quickly. Right. So yeah, I would probably say I was brought up in a very entrepreneurial home. Okay. And maybe that's why I tried employment and it didn't work.
It didn't work. Yeah, in fact, I was curious. I want to ask you, like, if you were to look back, at the timeline, like, what would be, and I asked you to pick an origin story moment of where Melvins is, like the origin of it is sort of born. What do you think it would be?
Interesting question. When I quit work, and I didn't quit. Well, somebody pushed me. James McPhee of Strathmore found me going into class and I was very mediocre. Basically, I would do the minimum. I would literally count. If they say 80% attendance, I would only be there. My CPAs were just passes. I really had no passion for what I was doing. And he caught me one day and said, make sure that don't let this mediocre follow you. You need to do something that you feel passionate about. Because the problem with, if you accept mediocre at that age, then it is a habit that will follow you for the rest of your life. So for me, that was an aha moment. And so I came home the next day and I quit my audit firm. And my second piece of great advice was my boss who told me, make sure you build something with a legacy. So I still had no clue what I wanted to build. And I went through this 3 weeks of great explosion in the home, threatened to get out and leave the house and, all sorts of things that parents do because they felt security was more important. But eventually, on a lunch table, we were having this lunch and the salt was very bad, wet and everything. And so I said, why is the salt like this? And why isn't it in the salt shaker? And I went on and on because I had studied abroad. So I had seen free-flowing salt. I said, why don't you have free-flowing salt? So first they asked me, what's that? And I said, it's dry. It's in the salt shaker. It will never. And they said, you're the one who wants to do business. Why not? And imagine that was it. It was just like that. So without any business studies, any nothing, I just wondered, where do I get this solution? How do I learn how to do this? We didn't live far from Kabete campus. I drove up there. I met a professor and I told him this is what I want to do. He asked me to commit. Have you done food science? I said no. And anyway, he asked me to commit. He said, I'll train you, I'll show you. And the rest, we'll say, is history. What was interesting is the next steps. Okay, fine, I learn, I bring out a product. I had not done any theory, any planning, anything. In fact, I had to do a business planning project with a bank that was going to give me finance that I had found. And I think it's when I started doing my revenues, I was like, really? Salt? So a ton of salt is 8,000 shillings. I was like, how am I going to make money with this product? But I was already in. I had already bought a little bit of machinery. I had started the product. And when I did my first big order, which I didn't even have money for, the hotel that I delivered, they told me 90 days payment. I said, 90? But these are things I should have known. So anyway, that was the long story. And then I met somebody who then told me, oh, my mother's doing tea. And I said, tea? And when I understood the margins in tea, there was only one government monopoly that had been lifted the same year. And they had said, now anybody can package tea. And I said, wow, your mom's packing this. And she's selling, because remember, I have a challenge. I have this product that's not moving. And that's how we got into Melvins Tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious about two things. One, I mean, it sounds like you did grow up in a family with means and with a level of privilege. So was money a factor for you? Like, did you grow up saying, I want to make a lot of money? Or was it more, I'm working to have a impactful or reasonable career?
No, I wanted to make a difference. My father, I guess being a banker, had this magazine. He was always in the house called The Director. It used to come in from the UK. So it was a big thing, and you'd sit on a Sunday and read it. And I would read it too. And I would see, this business and how this chairman did this and how this board of directors. So that's another area I really enjoy, just being on boards and just understanding how other companies work. And I guess the conversations with my parents really then just brought out an entrepreneurial spirit. So it was not about having. By the way, it doesn't necessarily mean if they gave you that, they give you all the time. No. Ours, you had to hustle for everything. I mean, my mother was the one where you say, I want to go out, can I have some money? She says, what for exactly? And you'd say, we're going maybe to Carnival or something. And she'd say, okay, entrance is 50 shillings, a soda is 30 shillings, here's 70. Here's 80 shillings, and that's it. Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily we got. No, we learned very early to hustle. Yeah. So even in college, I had already started doing a little bit of hustle. Yeah.
Okay. So now getting to the beginning of, I guess, where you start Melvins, you've had this salt business and the margins aren't good.
And learning.
And learning. But at this point in time, if I remember correctly from what I've read, you had gotten a facility of some sort.
Yes.
And your mother had also given you
and
some
that facility
sort of
was not a joke.
Yeah.
Because when I went to them and asked them for funding, they said absolutely not.
They said
you should
no.
have stayed in employment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was not. So I went round this town looking and I said, who supports SMEs? Who supports startups? And I found a fund with Kenya Women Finance Trust. Yeah.
Okay, so it was not a walk in the park to just get that funding.
No, yeah. Not at all. And every time I kept thinking there'll be my lucky break. Absolutely not.
What was the thing that was, why would they not give you the money? Is it because you didn't have a good enough plan or they didn't like what you were doing? Or
I think a little bit of everything. How do you just all of a sudden, we know you're doing CPA and then you quit? So it was a little bit of frustration on their side. And do you really know which direction you're going? We don't have money to throw around. I think it was everything. Actually, the other day when we celebrated our 25 years, I actually thanked my mother for walking with me. Because after the fight for about 3 weeks, she started walking with me and saying, what exactly do you want? And she necessarily didn't give me the money, but now her experience now came into play. When I go to sign a contract, she'll say, let me look at it. So she mentored me. Now from there on. So I went back and I thanked her greatly because, and my father too, he came back and apologized. Yes, I know we didn't want you to do this, but now that you're here, how can we help?
Yeah.
So it was more the mentoring, the coaching, the, helping me think things through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they became my advisory board very quickly.
Yeah. Okay. So what was your, at the sort of this first hurdle when you now begin to get into tea?
Yeah.
What are the first challenges that you're overcoming at that initial space, and what are the financial considerations at that very beginning?
Remember, I didn't have a plan. I hadn't even really studied entrepreneurship. It was not even a thing at the time, at least for me. So, as much as I stumbled into this salt and I was scrambling. So even when I went to the bank, it was as little as I could get. I had to then go to my SACCO. I had started saving for some odd reason. I guess the wisdom of my parents. And I went to my SACCO and they said, we'll give you 3 times. I think that time it was 3 times your savings. I was like, wow, I think my savings are something like 9,000, but it's not even a lot of money. But then I started, and then by the time I've done that, I've drawn down on my bank. I've repaid a little bit, so I asked for more. So I just kept, hitting the ceiling. So I would say financial was my biggest challenge. getting enough funds to run a business. And it's because I didn't have a runway. I didn't even know what I needed next week and next month. Yes, I did some cash flows for the bank because I had learned some business planning, whatever. But since I knew I'd never get there, I didn't have the initial capital. I didn't even stick to it. It was more hand to mouth. I did that thing I see entrepreneurs do. If I want to go out, I take 2,000 from the revenues and, just bad financial habits. But that's because I didn't have a plan to get it. So it took me some time to sort of get my footing.
Yeah.
The second biggest challenge that I faced was information. There was no ChatGPT, there was no Google. So who sells tea? Where is the tea market? You had to literally go to Tea Board of Kenya. Fortunately, this gentleman who was telling me about tea said, all my friends are in Mombasa, so I went to Mombasa. That's where I'm learning. And then I'm telling them I'm going to package tea, all these brokers, and they're like, what do you know about tea? I said, absolutely nothing, but I'll learn. And they were like, this is not a joke. This industry is, let's be serious. And so that's when I started thinking, wow, maybe I'm assuming a little bit too much. Because they said you're going up against a giant who had the monopoly for 19 years. So on my way back from Mombasa is when I actually started thinking, I need to do something slightly different. That's a belief I have. I will always take the road less traveled. I'm not, if people are going left, I'll most likely look for right because that's the only way you'll stand out and be different. So then I started asking myself, how can I be different? So I get home, I wanted to cook tea, and there was no ginger. I was like, oops, back to the shop, got ginger. And then I said, I'm looking for something different. So if these guys have captured the tea, why don't I do ginger tea? And that just came from a habit. I mean, I didn't even go out and study that ginger is the most popular spice for Kenyans. It was just in my whatever, and I put it in and when I went to the largest supermarket, they gave me a lecture. The gentleman I met there now gave me a lecture again. He said, you're too young. Why are you here? Are you married? I'm not. And now he gave me a lecture and he sent me away. But the next morning he called and said, I want that ginger tea.
Did you give him to taste it, or
no? I left the two samples.
Okay.
After this long lecture of about 45 minutes, this guy lectured me like he was my father.
Yeah.
And I actually the next day I couldn't even wake up until that phone woke me up. And he said, bring 20 cases, I think was my first order. I couldn't believe it, into the factory. And yeah, so those are the things that, so knowledge, cash, and then understanding the system at the time.
Yeah.
Purely because I guess we were not prepared for business. Maybe that's why I like coaching and mentoring so much.
Yeah.
What was the other thing? Just understanding trade. However, I'll tell you one great thing about the time. Once I got my product in, they start asking you what else. They used to post our checks. It was not a hassle like what I see. Today, I see entrepreneurs starting business and I'm like, wow, putting anything in modern retail trade today is really, really tough. At the time, it was not that tough if you knew where to go. So I would say those were principally my challenges. Oh, I'll tell you, then as I start growing the business now, I go into this thing of hiring people.
Yes.
Remember, I'm 20-something. Everybody I need the experience is older than me.
Yes.
I can't hire, I can't fire. I actually couldn't have fire for maybe 4 years.
You couldn't fire anybody.
I couldn't. Even hiring was a hassle, but firing I couldn't. I used to feel bad and sad and how do I do this? So my coach and my mentee, my mother would say, okay, tell me what has happened. So she would meet whoever it is. We discuss performance was not great. I didn't even know to do that too much. Was not great. And then they would say something like, okay, fine, we separate ways. Or they would say, I'll improve. Then, of course, by the end of the month, they haven't improved. So my mom would ask me, what next? I say, so-and-so needs to go. I think we try our luck somewhere else. I wouldn't appear to work for 4 days. I'd just feel bad. I'd feel like they would follow me. I'd feel like I've ruined their lives.
Yeah.
So she would do it for me.
And is this purely from an age perspective?
It was age, confidence. What have I done to this person? What will they do to me? Like, I didn't want to be in the vicinity. So it's just lacking the courage, the knowledge, the whatever. Today, if you want to be an entrepreneur, there's so many courses online. I mean, you can prepare so much. Here, I didn't even know where to go.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do other than sitting at the feet of my parents. I didn't know what to do.
When do you realize that you need to even hire people? When does a business become more than you? And where do you even get the money to hire these people?
Well, remember manufacturing, I can't be the one mixing and then going out to sell. So immediately almost, once we sort of put everything together with my college professor, then it was, I need somebody to help me with the heavy equipment. And we started, so I hired one guy. It's a hope and a prayer that you'll be able to pay him.
Yes.
So you agree a salary, and so you know that you have to sell more so that you whatever. So I did my own sales for the first maybe 4 years. Yeah, literally, going. I went to Chandra, I went to Chumi, I went to all the supermarkets. I finished there. Then I think because I'm very growth oriented, I sit down and say, if I've done all modern trade, where do these other people, this other line, these wholesalers, these kiosks, where do they buy? So I start calling around, and then somebody says, you need somebody to help you to understand the go-to market. I'm like, yeah, I do. So a friend will call a friend and say, okay, meet so and so. So I met this gentleman. Wow, I can't remember his name. He used to work at Del Monte. So he says, okay, come, I'll show you. And so he opened up a whole new world for me called general trade. It's like,
General
wow.
trade.
Yeah, general trade. This is where you sell to a distributor who sells to a wholesaler. Actually, at the time, it was a wholesaler who sells to the retailer, and they get the product in. So then I go out very confident with myself, and I present this product in front of distributors, and they're like, if you get the demand, you come right here, we'll sell the product. So I said, aha. So what I did is, remember my product is ginger, but I did 2 products. I did ginger tea, and I did the plain tea. So the ginger tea, of course, is now starting to take off. So I actually would love cold days. I make tea, I get thermoses, I make tea, and then I would go to a market. So my favorite market was Kangware market. I don't know why. So I'd go there, and I'd go to those mamas and tell myself, if I sell, it was 10 shillings a packet of 50 grams. If I sell 200 of these, that will be, because a carton was 200. I say, if I sell 200 of these in a day, I'll start building demand. So I used to know the market days were Tuesdays and Fridays. So that's what I'll do. In the morning, I'll just go there, talk to those mamas, whichever language they want to talk. We sit, we laugh. And then slowly they started asking, where do I get this? And I'd say, that supermarket. Then I go to the supermarket and say, you need this product. They say, where do we get it? That wholesaler. Then I go to... So when I'm telling you blood, sweat, and tears, it's for real.
So you literally had to connect it for them to allow you, for them to not say, okay, fine, we'll buy your product.
Yeah, because you're new, nobody cares. So I learned very early to create my own demand. Yeah, and that's one thing I teach entrepreneurs today. I say, create your own demand way before you sort out the supply.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess you have to hire, because you're in manufacturing. So you've hired people. You're on hope and a prayer, but you're able to churn out some sales.
Yes.
You've got into your first big supermarket after a lecture.
Yeah.
And then now you're also going into markets and trying to create your own demand so that you can increase
the distribution.
I guess your distribution. Okay.
Yes.
So what's the next big pivotal thing that happens that sort of moves your business to the next level? And you are your own sales team for the first 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
So actually,
I start hiring merchandisers, those 2 girls who make sure.
Yes.
So I have those, and so I get them to start working on the weekends, because that's when you have customers. One girl tells me she's SDA, she doesn't work on the weekends. I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? So I have to now, politely now ask her, well, this is how the business goes, so we separate and we get somebody else. So we go through that. I cannot be everywhere. So now I have only 1 car. By the way, I sold my saloon car to buy a pickup, the ugliest pickup, left-hand drive, looked like a hearse. So I start telling myself, I need demand and I need it in numbers now. So somehow, I have no clue where I get this idea from. I go and look for Maliwaza. There are this group of actors called Vitimbi. So I go look for them. And I tell them, I need you to join me every, maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Actually, I initially just started any day until I started seeing the best days were Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and would go to those markets. Then I made a big dummy of my product, and I put it on the pickup. And then we got a PA system. And we just went around the markets, and we started going down even to Nakuru. We went to Mombasa, and that's how I started creating my demand.
What would they be doing in the back? They're just shouting.
They're shouting and teaching people this is tangawizi. Then the masala iko na dalasini. I even started adding words I had never had before. So come and we'd cook the tea for them. So what you do is you go and you work up a market, and then you sell to the distributor and the wholesaler. Then you go to the next one. Then you come back again, and you just do that loop for a minute. I mean, I remember. And you're selling cash because the supermarkets don't want to whatever. So I remember one time we get to Nakuru and it's late to come back. I've promised my folks I'm coming back. And I say, I can't make it. So at this stage, they say we're going to sleep in this hotel. So I'm like, okay, looks a bit shady, but I'm like, okay. So in the night, it had iron sheets.
Yes.
And the wind was blowing. So me now, I know bus. These people now, they're coming, they're removing the iron sheets because I have cash and a lot of it, more than I could imagine that one should have it.
Yeah.
It's nothing I've not been through, I tell you.
Yeah.
So demand creation now became my next big thing. Then when you reach there, you start getting capped on the size of your go downs. You start getting capped on capital again. Capital has been a consistent, just not having enough. So about 3-4 years into the business, 5 into the business, I decide this is too much work. It's too hard. I can't do this. So my mother says, okay, fine, sell it. I'm like, okay. So we put it to market and somebody comes. Then I say, so what am I going to do? So I turned down that person. Struggle a little bit.
Was their offer good?
I have no idea. I got scared.
Or you...
I actually need to corner my mother because I never met these people. But she would always say, tomorrow morning we're meeting so-and-so. And then I would get scared. I did it again. And I told her, I can't do this. And she said, okay, we are selling again. So the last time she told me, okay, fine, let me do this. Scale down this business because I had a go down in industrial area. And now I couldn't meet my rents. I reached that place where I tell entrepreneurs where you start getting stagnant with your level of knowledge. So she said, scale down this business. So she moved it from industrial area to Spring Valley. We live near there. And took her shop and just closed it. And we separated and we started putting all our machines there. And we continued building the business.
And essentially reduced your expenses.
It reduced the expenses. I left. So I didn't work for about a year.
You left?
I left. I couldn't. I was going to sell the business. And I went into trading.
Okay.
And I had fun because I would say, I want to go here. And I traded anything and everything. I sold aerials. I sold phones. I sold clothes. Anything just to keep me on the planes and keep me away. So I'd say, I want to go to Germany. I want to go here. I want to go there. It was just, I just needed a breather.
Okay. I'm curious, even before the trading, for these 4 years, what does this, because it sounds like you are the driver, the sales agent, everything.
I have a team.
No, I mean, but it sounds like you're doing
I'm the leader.
You're doing a lot of work.
Yes.
What does it do for your personal life in those 4 years? Because I guess, in your 20s as well.
Yes, I should be hanging and everything. It reduced it to almost zero. My friends would literally actually say, we'll pick you up. Don't come in that ugly car of yours. But yeah, it's true. You'd find me Saturday, Sunday on the road. My social life almost ground to zero. It's true. It's
okay.
True.
All right. So you have 4 years.
But I was so driven. I wanted this thing to work. I look at the statistics. Kenya exports 97% of her tea in bulk. I'm going to change this statistic. I want to see Kenyan tea on shelves globally. I'm still chasing it up to now. 30 years later, my goodness. So it's good to dream and dream big, but where it's tough. It's a journey.
And so, I mean, because again, like you sound so passionate about it, like you were so passionate about it. So by the time you're getting to this point where you're like, I'm selling the business, is it because you're not feeling like it's not working the way you want it to?
Yeah.
Or it's taking too long?
It's taking too long and I've hit a ceiling. Whatever I do, I'm just not passing this level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How, when I was prepping for this, I think I read somewhere where you said how you would go around some of these cash issues was
bouncing the checks.
There was bouncing checks because you didn't get charged for bounced checks.
Yes.
And then there was something around taking from suppliers, but you don't take the full amount, so they can't invoice you.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah, because you see, to manufacturing is large numbers. Yeah. So in comes this kid, and I want this, and I want it at this price. So they say, we can't give you that price. So I say, okay, what's the price? They say minimum 100,000. So I say, okay, fine. You make 100,000, and they call it call off, and they call it off. So then I say, okay, fine. Now I haven't told them that I'll probably be moving 10,000 a month. So they make this 100,000, and I can barely, and even paying them. There's a particular supplier who stopped my supplies and said, until you bring, because that time companies, remember, you had to register 2 people. So he could see there was somebody else. He said, until you bring your other director, I'm not selling to you anything. And I don't even care at what price. So when my mom now showed up, because she was my silent director, is when he, and all she said is, just know I'm here. But I'm not supporting her. This is her dream. Let her do her.
Yeah.
And that then tended to open doors. Then the other lesson she taught me is never ever ignore a supplier. Just make sure you pay,
like enough attention.
Yeah, just, enough to get it going. Yeah. But capital has always been quite a challenge.
Okay. What does this year away from the business do for your headspace and just where you are generally?
Freedom, then I'm like, wow, this is big money. This is different from manufacturing. Manufacturing, is small incremental growth. I see the world. I travel a lot. Then one time I have to come back to sign I think it was a facility. So I go to the bank and I start signing this a facility, and I'm like, whose account is that? You know, because my mom is very astute. So I think she had done pretty well. We had put in a graduate to run the place, and I was doing better than when I was there. So I said, oh, this is interesting. And then now he wanted to leave and wanted to do something else. So I stepped back in, and then I started the second round. And I guess, let's just say I've never left.
After that, you've not left.
So I think I just learned things can be different. I also learned that, yes, as much as you're running a business, also, I think I didn't have good financial management. So I wasn't paying myself properly. So, of course, that's why I was being attracted by other things. So I think Kiyosaki at that time is the one who said, pay yourself fast and things like that. So then I started now looking after myself, pay for this, pay for that. And the business just had to. And it's interesting when you make a decision, how things just fall into place and you work harder. And I think from there, then I also started now jumping into any and every course I could. I went into marketing. There's a beautiful program at the time called Business Growth that was being run by K-Rep, I think, or somebody like that. So even them I couldn't afford, but I committed, I signed to the LPO. I think I took a year to pay them. But I was able then to learn how to do, because what they did is they taught you business, they taught you cost accounting. Do you know accounting and cost accounting are totally different? I mean, going to units, manufacturing, you really got to be very strong on your units. It gave us coaches. So I actually saw the importance of increasing your knowledge. When I wanted now to drive performance of my team, I went to actually do a HRM, a human resource. I think it was human resource for non-human resource managers. So I found myself in all sorts of classes. And it's not even as easy as it is today. Today I tell entrepreneurs, if you don't want to learn really now, I don't know who can help you. Us guys, you had to pay, you had to show up. Today you're on Zoom, you don't have to pay. There's just so much information out there. Okay,
Yeah.
I also think things are moving quite quickly.
Yeah.
But today there's no excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you come back into the business, what do you find has been done differently than what you left, that has allowed for the accounts to grow, that has allowed for the business to get to where it is and relatively doing well? Because it sounds like it was relatively doing well.
I guess they were more patient, but we had built a foundation. Can you imagine going around for all those years? So we had built the demand, and now we were, of course, not pulling out that expense, the marketing expense. Yes, we brought in a better financial discipline, where we started putting aside a little bit, just to start building a buffer. I don't know. Actually, quite an interesting question. But I think it was just more less. I guess we were pulling out less from the business, because I was doing less damage. Damaging, either I was learning, or I was marketing, or I was doing something.
Okay.
Product development, I tried to go to the UK, I tried to go to the US. I'm trying to change this narrative and get Kenyan products out there. I was not ready. I was nowhere near ready to do that.
So at that particular point in time, you are looking for people to export the product to.
Yeah, and I can hardly even support my home. In fact, today I tell entrepreneurs, don't rush. Build a firm foundation first. So when I went to one of the financial institutions to look for money, I met this gentleman, and he said, let me see your books. And he looked at my books. Remember, I was an auditor, so my books were okay. And he looks and he says, you don't have a money problem. You have a management problem. Your books, your money is with your clients. Because I couldn't also get money out. If I keep telling entrepreneurs, if they think today debtors don't pay, that time it was even worse. I couldn't get money out from a lot of them. And he just told me, put together a board of advisors and I'll be your first board member. And that also helped me a lot. It really, really helped me wake up and realize that you can't know everything. So I started calling back on my loans, on my debtors.
Yes.
And then you start finding half of them don't even exist. Because salesmen take the product, then they say John didn't pay, but they took cash from John. So now that really woke me up. And so now you start learning, I really need to be careful here, circularizing debtors, getting on top of them, going to market. It was a whole lesson 101. So when I'm telling you I coach and mentor, I don't need everybody to make these kind of mistakes.
Yes.
And this is what I've covered in the book.
And how many years have you been in business by the time you're having this conversation about a board of advisors?
I think I was 7 to 10 years in.
So
Seven,
I mean,
about seven.
a
It was a
significant.
significant number. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't even. I of course then I had read in my book of directors, so I was like, oh, directors, do they have fiduciary responsibility? He said, put an advisory board. It doesn't have to be a board of directors, so they don't have to have fiduciary duties. Meaning, they'll be worried
Yes.
this is an SME and everything. And it was the best thing I did. I mean, the first board member I had, well, I had this gentleman and I had somebody else. They asked me, what do you want? And I said, I want to professionalize this business, because remember now I don't even know what professional looks like, because I haven't even seen it in another organization.
Yes.
So the gentleman came in and he said, fine. He used to work at BAT, and he looked and he said, just a question. Is this business the way it is because this is the way the industry works? Mm-hmm. Or is it the CEO has no clue what's going on?
Yeah.
Wow. I wondered, did I choose you really to sit on my...
What was he so alarmed by?
I guess everything was in the air. Everything was leaning on Flo. If Flo hasn't said this, where is this? Where's your data policy? How many days credit do you give? Do you give a discount for people who pay cash? I mean, everything was in my head. And with my team, and, if your team leaves, if you want to give a discount, they had to look for me. And wow, this is exactly what I'm telling my entrepreneurs. Don't do this. Come to Scale Mastery. We'll teach you different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious about, because it sounds like facilities and of course you said money is a really, really big deal. And you talked about, because in terms of products, where we left it at is you had two main products, the ginger tea and the regular tea.
Yeah.
Where does the need for multiple other flavors come, and how do you begin to finance that, and how does that begin to work?
So about 2 years into starting the ginger tea, which was about 3 years after I started the business, I meet a fund. So you see, now I'm looking for any training, anything. And they said, oh, we want also to help Kenya in their value addition. So we are going to help you go to the UK and to the US to sell your product. So I said, yeah, and I have this revolutionary product. It's ginger tea, first time in Kenya. We've changed the industry. And they said, and which other one? I was like, nobody asked. And they said, well, this program is closing in a month. If you have 3 other variants, minimum we can go with is 4 variants. Mm-hmm. So if you have 3 other variants by then, I said, trust me, don't worry, done. And I went out and I just did a quick research. I found masala is popular. Then I found vanilla for my age mates. And then I think I did cinnamon. Mm-hmm. So those are the ones I found popular, quickly packaging out. And I came and I went on this trip because it was being paid for part and part. I think you pay something, they pay something. Now, sometimes you should also be careful what help you get. Mm-hmm. So we go there. The meeting was with James Findlay, George Williamson. And I'm like, these guys have factories in Kenya and these guys import to themselves. Why are we here? Shouldn't we be with this is how I'm dreaming. Should we be the Sainsbury's and the Tesco's? And it's nice to be green. Mm. And so that completely was a waste of time. But here I am with my new flavors. So then we go. And then I learned how to just follow my customer. So even up till today, I follow my customer. I've seen the young demographics. So during COVID, we came out with a tea machine. So it's instant tea. You had it here. Like how you have the instant tea, yes. Whatever. You press a button, you get your tea. And we play with different types of tea, vanilla tea, cocoa in tea and stuff like that. And then we realized, people also want to carry it along. So we've come out with instant tea. So you just add hot water, so you can carry it around. Very good for your generation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we continue to just follow the consumer. So I think your question was around business development. Yeah, I always tell my students, follow the consumer. Well, look at their habits. Are you talking to them? So if I sell you one thing, what else in your ecosystem can I either upgrade or give you? So for me, I've entered your kitchen. Okay, so now we have, I think, close to 30 different variants. So whether you want detox, whether you want sleep tea, whether you want, we have a whole array. Then now you want instant and etc. We now are teaching people to do it cold as opposed to doing it hot. Right. Yeah. Okay. So it's follow the customer.
I'm curious, even in the development of the tea, because I'm assuming there's an amount that's going into product research. Yeah. There's an amount that will go into product development, and then there's minimums you need to be able to probably create when you're creating, which all of this costs an amount of money, right? Yes. So how did you handle that situation essentially of the capital that's required to develop all these new flavors vis-a-vis, will a flavor work? Will it not work? Yeah.
If you don't develop, you die. Mm-hmm. And we've always found that every time we brought a new flavor, the whole category picks up. So for us, it became a must to do. So what we would do is go to, like I told you, we do the call off. So we order a lot and then we call off. Sometimes they get clever on you, or sometimes you do bring them in and then you find your inventory holding is too high. So the other day, a couple of years back, we made a decision and just said, we will bear the cost of higher packaging, meaning lower margins for new products. And when they pick up, we know that we'll be able to pick up bigger margins. But if you look at the bell curve of any product, it's then the minute it starts tapering down, you need something to excite the category. And because you probably don't want to lose your customer, bring in something else. So we've noticed every time we bring in the instant tea or we bring in a detox tea or something, the category lifts, and that's how we tend to grow.
So I've heard you talk about flavors, and now I'm hearing you talk about categories.
Yes.
When do categories come into play in the business? What challenge do you hit, or where do you get to that you're like, okay, now in addition to just flavors, we need categories?
Different kinds of things. Again, it's just chasing growth. When you're like, okay, I've maxed out now. I'm in most supermarkets, most outlets. How do I go to the next one? Because I need to catch you, and I need to catch your loyal customers, and you listen to your loyal customers. So once in a while we do focus groups. I actually did one during COVID. It's tough. It's tough to get feedback from what you thought you were achieving and what the consumer says. And that's when you react. You come back and say, why don't I? We went into orthodox tea. It's the tea that it's rolled as opposed to the black tea that we know. Pretty expensive. Put it out in the market. It's maybe double or triple the price of the other one. It excites the category, but it doesn't move. So what do you do? So we've had to cull some products, and it's just the normal way of growth. And we just put it into R&D. Actually, they say R&D should be, some say 2.5-3% of your turnover. Yeah.
Okay. Do you get into, as in this process now, I guess we're like, year 10 onwards, what are some of the financial challenges you begin to run into at a business at 10 years old? What are the things that you're considering? I'm assuming now, as we were talking before we started recording, and we were saying the category that you're in is between is it 100 million and 1 billion? Is it 250 million and 1 billion is the category that you sit in terms of turnover. So what are some of the challenges that you begin to get into at year 10?
They're just bigger problems, so bigger capital issues, because you need more capital. The supermarkets are holding your money. Some start collapsing, the Nakumats of this world, the Tuskies of this world. And you've built such great relationships because you started with them that you're seeing your money almost going down. So like I remember Uchumi, when it was just about to go down, is when I had gone to actually borrow money from this gentleman. And he said, have you not heard there's something wrong going on in this supermarket? I just stopped working. And I just went there and I sat in their reception. I became their friend. We'd go to drink tea in those kiosks of theirs and everything. Out of a huge amount, I managed to pull out, I think they only went with 1% of what they had before I had this information. And that was maybe 3%. And that was because I just went and I said, listen. So it's really trying to influence these things that are going to come at you, because you want to grow, so you supply Nakumat, yet you're hearing they're not whatever. It's a delicate dance, shall I say. And some of the times you get it wrong and you get hurt and you get injured. But I do know businesses that collapsed. Yeah. So just being more and more astute, being more kali, being able to tell a customer, no, I know you're my biggest customer, but imagine no, if you're not paying me, imagine I'm not delivering, and having the guts to walk away. And it's one of the hardest things to do, because you know they start calling on your relationship. They've invited you to their home. It's tough. So it's just bigger problems, bigger challenging issues with staff. Maybe there are times we've just found a whole syndicate, right from production going out. So it's just bigger problems. So you bring in more controls. You add in internal audit. Like I said, same script, different cast.
The problems are getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
and for you as an entrepreneur, then you also have to keep getting bigger, because you remember you're the lead. If you don't grow as an entrepreneur, you are actually the lead of the organization. So you too have to grow. So when you're going through such challenges, where do you run to information? It's not like today you can run to chat and say, hey, chat, has this happened elsewhere in the world? What should I do? Da, 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 da. It's not like that. Here you used to literally just call. So for me, anybody on my phone, and I knew they would help me, I would look for them and understand how should I navigate this area? What should I do around here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and when some of these bigger players are collapsing, are you concerned? Okay, fine. There's the potential of them going with your money or what they potentially owe you.
Yeah.
But are you then concerned about your ability to just, because some of these establishments, were huge and had many, many outlets. So are you concerned about even your own revenues outside of what they already owe you, but you being able to generate more revenues? And what are the things that you're doing to
quickly start telling your staff, listen, so 10% of my business is going through here. Actually, it's something my board even had started to say. I think you're over-dependent on this customer. We're taught to diversify your portfolio. So never have a customer that takes even 25% of your business. Even in banks, they're regulated. You cannot have more than so much. So they started saying, I think you're over-dependent on this person. So you start looking, can I export? Can I do the general trade? What can I do to stop being dependent on this particular person? So that kind of advice is what had already started to guide us to be able to not to be as dependent as we were. And I guess maybe those are the kind of things that helped us survive.
Okay. When do you actually begin to export? And what's your first market that you export to?
All the time, about 10 years later, I did go to the States and I went to an expo and I got an order from a distributor and I sent the product to him. And it was the times of the website, www. So you'd go to, I can't even remember his name. And then on the website, you'd have a 2 by 2 inches that said Melvins with this 2 by 2 picture, dark. Didn't even look cute. Buy product from Kenya, He had been to Kenya, so he was quite happy to host me as a distributor. Product didn't move. So he calls me and says, come and pick it up. I'm like, do you know where you are? So they destroy the product and they charge you. They
destroy the product and they charge you.
They charge you, yeah. Lessons learned. So you start realizing, wow, this is not a walk in the park. So, about 7 to 10 years in, then we start now having pockets of distributorship, and it just, grows.
So in terms of being able to export, what are the things that you need or you needed to sort of like a due diligence to understand, to be like, this will be a successful partnership with regard to trying to export the product?
At the time, I really didn't know. I just found a distributor, and it was, I think, a USAID assisted program. So that gentleman did the negotiations for me. My margins were okay. Of course, today I would see it differently. You really want to have a distributor with some good financial muscle who believes in your product and doesn't treat you like the spare relative. Somebody who really feels we can make a difference with this product. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And that is what has been our success even now. Those are the kind of people we look for. So I always say it's not necessarily the biggest. It's usually the one with the most passion and alignment. And this is actually in anything you do in business. The more passion and alignment you can have with somebody, the better off you are.
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk a bit about, I guess, potential low points that have existed financially. First of all, what does COVID do for your business?
Ooh, that one I can say with a smile.
Yeah.
Our business actually grew during COVID.
Okay.
And this is because I think everybody was at home and they were drinking tea or wine. So the ones who drank tea, we now, because I remember going to the office and telling guys, do we close? Are you guys willing to come to work? We did some protocols, we did a lot of training, and we went to work, including myself, right through COVID. And then we started following the customer. Where's the customer? The customer was online. We were watching Italy and da-da-da-da-da. So that's when we put up our socials. Really, we pushed really hard. Buying online, changing consumer habits, reaching people. So actually, during that period, we had an exponential growth on our socials, although that was intentional. And then a lot of we tried online delivery, but it was tough because by the time you buy a packet of tea, the transport is more than the product. So we went again to the supermarket. So we influenced them. We started training. So COVID was not a bad
time for
thing.
You guys.
I've had a couple. I remember 5 years in, after I take over from the gentleman who was whatever, we moved to industrial area. I went into a co-sharing, go down with somebody. And there was one time, I told you now, I found out that my debtors were not real debtors. So I was told, but you're insured, so go to the police station. So the insurance tells me, go to the police station and register the theft by servant, and you have it covered. So I go there, and I remember meeting the policeman, and he kept saying, So I think it was to the tune of like 1.5 million or something like that. So he says, ilikuwa kwa ofisi. He kept asking me, was this man in the office? And I'd say no, and I'd explain to him. The staff would go out, sell them, and it happened over a period of like a year. And he kept asking me. So I don't know who was around, who had or whatever. Within a week, we were hit in the office. And we were robbed everything. And I mean everything other than heavy machinery. And just our luck, we had a huge tonnage of tea coming in that day. So all that, everything it was a big truck that came and just took everything. So that was a low moment. That was a really low moment.
Yeah.
So after you get over the shock, and you say, I'm insured, it's okay. You think it's okay. So I go to my insurance, and that was another experience. Wow. From the assessor they sent you who's doesn't even want to come. I think the day he came, he was half drunk. Then they start saying, let's see your policy, and we were underinsured. I didn't know there was such a thing.
You were underinsured?
Underinsured, because you see, we had been growing, so whoever our broker was should have been teaching us that, anyway, I should have known, that we needed to have been increasing our whatever. So they said, and I think they pay you the premium in that whatever, so if you are whatever, so it was a whole mess. It was a whole mess.
So even whatever they were going to give you? Yeah,
they cut it down to the level that you had insured. And then on top of that, they called us fraudulent, because the way we do our storekeeping is not I don't know what you call them. So we don't count 1 to 10. So we'll say like 1 carton, 5 parcels, 5 pieces. So it's not, so we'd write 1.5.1, but that's not, so then they want to take that in a calculator, and you say, no, that's not what so they even put in the report that we were fraudulent. So it was a whole mess.
How do you I'm trying to figure out the practical way you wake up from that, because like you're saying, if they've hit you and they've taken everything, literally for the factory workers, for your employees, for you, even if you're and you assume you're going to have insurance pay you a certain amount of money, how do you recover from that? How do you
we went back to our suppliers and just said, this has happened, so give us what you can. They didn't take packaging. So at least we managed to get the tea. And I don't think they took the spices. Or we just went to the suppliers, and then we started like rebuilding. So we were literally, in fact, we learned to be very efficient very young. So we were literally almost, today for tomorrow kind of thing, until we were able to build back our buffers. I mean, this whole insurance fiasco was like a year, despite all that. So it wasn't even...
It wasn't like it came...
No, because we were fighting, and I had a very negative experience with insurance companies. But I guess ignorance. I was completely ignorant. So then we learned. So it was like rebuilding again. But the beautiful thing about it, now we had the demand. So it's really just working this other side, beg, borrow, and steal, to do the demand. I think I went back to my circle. So the whole game began again. So I'd say in my business journey, that has been one of my lowest moments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds tough. That sounds, it sounds like it's almost a direct, anyway.
Yeah. Punch in the stomach.
Yeah.
Tough, yeah.
Yeah. While you've been building this enterprise and building this company and just growing it and scaling it, how have you managed the growth of your personal life? And because you're the founder, CEO, scaled everything, got married, you have 3 kids. What's that process been like? What's the hit that they potentially have taken for you to be able to build the business that you've built?
I like the way this question goes to ladies. The hit they've taken. No.
By hit you've taken.
Obviously.
I mean, the hit the family has taken.
Yeah, what does it cost me to get here?
What does it cost you to get
here? The same way it costs guys. It's
yes.
We are the nurturers and we're expected to be home.
Yeah.
So I
for
think
the record, that I need to clarify that. I actually come from a single parent household. My mom is the one who brought us up, essentially.
Yeah.
So I'm very I'm a huge proponent of that. I'm just giving this for clarity, because I know there's a narrative which I do not believe in. I don't subscribe to.
Yeah. So you're one of those. And I believe my hubby is one of those as well.
Yeah.
So when I met him, it was 5 years into running my business. And I had met a few who had also told me, you run your own business, and then the phone goes silent. So it was interesting. This person was actually, we could talk the whole night about business. And I was like, interesting. He's an architect. I was like, okay. So anyway, in there then, it was always business this, business that, business the other. He's a business architect, if there's any such a word.
Yeah.
So then, I mean, he proposed, we got married, and as soon as the kids came, I've now done my business maybe 7 or 8 years. I stopped working on Saturday. That's the first thing I did. Saturday just doesn't find me in the office, but I'll work wherever I am. The second rule I made is anything that they have, whether it's a play in school, anywhere they need me, I'll be there. My business can hold. And that's because then I had already started learning how to do systems, structures, or sometimes I just duck and, I'll come and put out the fire when I come back. So it was around just having very clear family values and just saying, this is important to me and this is what I will do. Fortunately, having a partner who understands business, when I've had to either travel or I've had to do when I then went into all these roles where I was chairman, chairman, KEPSA, and I had to travel or I was unavailable. He's quite happy. He's like you. He's happy to do the work. He's happy to pick the kids. He's happy to be a father. So that has been okay. And then one time I go to church and the pastor asked us, does the price of milk and bread change because somebody bought it? It's like, that was my aha moment. And I was like, wow, I don't have to do shopping anymore. So I built a team at home that do shopping. They do actually everything. So I do, if I enter a shop if I want to, down to whatever you want it to be. And then I empowered them to drive. So you just start building an ecosystem around you that helps it work. Yeah. The one thing I don't subscribe to, and I see it a little bit, is where now as even as a parent, let's even talk there, where you start abrogating your duties. So let's say I'm in the office, then I leave the office, then I go to the gym, then I finish the gym, then I want to meet my friends. How often can I do that? I've got to be cognizant of the fact that I brought people into this world who need my time. And I keep telling entrepreneurs, please make sure it's a season. It's a season these children will need you, and it's a season that you have to be there. And then as soon as they start being able to figure things out, take them to the office if you have to be in the office. So during the holidays, I would take them to the office until teenage came and I was told to talk to the hand. Yeah. But slowly just try and involve them in what you do and let them understand what you do. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's something specific I want you to just talk a bit more about because I think I heard you talk about it, the au pair that you had, essentially what we would call house helps, who you empowered and put through driving school. Yes. So that essentially she could be able to do the things that need to happen in the house. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was a really interesting...
I talked about that somewhere?
Yeah, you did. I mean, how would I have known about it? How would I have known about it? But you said that you had an au pair in the house, and I think you put her through driving school and essentially empowered her to do certain things during the weeks, whether it was pick-ups, drop-offs, supermarket things. Yes. And
because then what you do is you're able to spend time. So when I get home, it's not about do I have to run somewhere. It's really quality time with the child. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think that makes a big difference. I have one of my brothers also had a similar arrangement to some extent where they had a house help who essentially could also do pickup. And you're saying the same thing. It just changes the way you spend time with the kids when you get home. Yeah. You're not thinking about other things and you're able to just be there.
Just be there and whatever. Then I met another friend of mine who just said, you shouldn't also be trying to be the tuition teacher. If you need any tuition, get a tuition teacher. So that it's more quality time that you spend. And then we have rules, we have dinner together. Yeah. We couldn't do the lunch like I grew up, so we had dinner we have dinner together, and if you're not there for dinner, you have to apologize and excuse yourself. Yeah.
Okay. What's been, if I was to ask you to try and summarize, what's been the financial lesson that's allowed you to grow your business to where it is? Or what's been the financial lessons that have allowed for you to grow your business to where it is?
Several. Let's begin with nothing is for free. And this came about one time. Again, it was a lunch and my cousin came by. He used to work in the Air Force. And he used to now shop. Air Force, remember, they used to be allowed duty-free stuff.
Yes.
So my mom was one of those, she'd want a duvet and da-da-da. So we'd send him all that. She'd send him for all these imported things that they had. And so one time they're paying him back and my dad pays him more. And he's like, Uncle, it was not this, it's this. And my dad said, what do you mean? You spent your time and your energy. There's got to be a finder's fee. And he said, do you know how many families I do a favor once in a while? And my dad said, nothing. Not your time is your time. You would be doing something else. And I think I was young. And I remember the light bulb for my cousin was so, he really lit up. Okay, I never had such an opportunity to whatever. And that's when I realized nothing is for free. And so even when I started business, it's, I was quite okay just to say, yes, this is the price and this is the profit that I whatever. So I think that was my first lesson. Another one is cash is king. They say revenue is vanity and profit is sanity. So it's not about just chasing revenue. I need the money to come back and I need to have made a profit. And so sometimes you can actually say no to a deal that sounds very good, especially if it's going to be paid into perpetuity and you're going to lose your whatever. So that's another one that I found really, actually those are two, because cash is king,
Yes,
and then revenue is profit is sanity, yeah. And then there was this one of my cousin. I think the other one is pay yourself. I'm not necessarily say pay yourself first, but put yourself in that equation. So that, of course, if I'm choosing between paying myself and my member of staff, one thing I know I learned very clearly from my mother is nobody should work for you and you don't pay them on the 30th or 31st day. That should never happen. So that's a discipline. But I tend to find a lot of entrepreneurs, we do that, but then we don't pay ourselves. Within no time, you'll get burnout. You start hating this job. And that's what had happened to me. So make sure whatever you do, if it is not going to fund what you want, then don't do it. Find something else to do, something else that can earn your money, can pay your bills. The other one is if I'm working in my business, I could be working for somebody else. So what is my income doing for me away from the business? So I've also had to learn financial investments. Everybody's talking about put it in money market, compounding, put it in development. So that was yet another area that, you think, wow, I do this and I put all my blood, sweat and tears. And you ask, please stop and say, no. It's also about what you're how are you building for your family? Because A, anything can happen to a business, but two, you could have been working for anybody else. So also good financial management is another thing that I've learned about money. Of course, debtors. Be very strict with your debtors. In fact, if you don't give it if you don't have to. Give extra value as opposed to giving on the other side. So instead of selling cheap, and this is what I also tell my salespeople, I don't have to sell cheap. What I'll do is I'll show you the value. So for us, we say in Melvins, we use 100% natural. So if it's ginger, we mill it. If it's chamomile, if it's cinnamon, it's probably why your wife likes us so much. So that is the extra value I've given you. I know people who use chemicals. So make it stand out, make it worth your time so that I don't have to get into that. So that's another financial thing. The other one is follow the money. Follow the money. If I'm going to sell a product, I need to sell it where I know there's money. Not sell a product, go to market and I'm just, perambulating and trying to look for a client. No, I should already have known this is where I'm going to take the product. So whether even if it's a service, if you're going to do, let's say I say I'm going to do consulting for, I don't know who, go where they are and make sure they can afford to pay you. I tend to find sometimes when I'm mentoring these entrepreneurs, the moment comes and I'm like, you didn't figure that one out. So I keep telling people, follow the money. Look at us during COVID. We now sat down and said, the best we can do is follow the money. Yeah. So that's another one I keep telling people is really, really important. I think I've given you enough. Yeah,
that good number there. And in fact, there's something I've remembered from one of the stories I heard.
Yeah.
One of the things you talked about. Maybe I'll ask you to talk about it a bit. I think you said there's a time, and this is what potentially I think even led you to the cash flow issue conversation, where I think it was a Chinese company, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm mistaken, I apologize, that were packaging rice and had asked you whether you could do packaging for them separately.
No, actually it was Uchumi. It was the big supermarket. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they liked the way we did our work and they said, can you package for them? So I did. Like it's white labeling, so you do it in their name. And it was a huge turnover, very low volumes. Huge turnover. And I literally, now talk about burnout, I literally had to be the one because it's cash. You go out to Mwea, you're buying the rice and wow, it was quite a run. Yeah.
And I think you ended up saying it also led to part of the cash flow issues that you had because you were the one who was spending your money there.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So you learn now to separate. If I do anything, like today, if we do contract packing for anybody, you pay up before.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you your money, because we also started having, people's products. You come, we develop the product for you, we make it, you don't pick. So now today everything has to be upfront if you want us to do white labeling for you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question.
Yeah.
What is your happiest financial memory story around your company, Melvins?
Debt is a tool. When you go to the bank and you want to do something and it's a big thing and they give you and you start, it's not, you didn't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than that. But it's a tool. As long as you have the discipline to people fear debt because they fear the payment, the repayment. Yeah. As long as you know your cash flows, I think for me that was, remember, finances was already a big challenge. Yeah. But when you go to the bank and then you're able to negotiate and you're like, wow, and it comes in and you start a line or you go into a new thing, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Last question. Do you think that you are exceptional in any way in terms of the almost 30 years you've put into this business and you've built it? Do you think that you have I don't want to say supernatural ability, but do you think that like there's something about you that's special that's allowed you to get here? Or can an average person who's building an average business be able to get to and scale to where you are at now?
Absolutely, and twice on Sunday. Why I say that is, I think it's resilience that has got me here. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to fail, and I'm just growth. I'm very growth oriented. I actually feel even an average person, which I am, can grow. And that's why we are saying, let's put out our knowledge out there and let them grow exponentially. They don't need to take 30 years to get to where I am.
Yeah. Because
the one question you haven't asked me, it might be in your cards, is what would I do differently?
Yeah.
I would grow bigger, faster. By trusting, if I go back to your first question, that the future will be okay.
What would it have required for you to grow faster? Bigger facilities, better terms,
also bigger risk ability. Risk is a muscle.
Just bigger.
I keep telling people risk is a muscle. So you started, I don't want debt. Actually, my first, let's say 5 years, there was no debt. No, I don't want debt. I don't take debt. I run a cash business.
Organic
and slowly
growth.
You start realizing, So I think that's
how much faster do you think? I mean, it's obviously, an existential question, but how much faster do you think you'd have gotten here if you would have done those things differently? Bigger debt and just bigger risk appetite and bigger.
Oh, much. Yeah. Because the opportunities then were not as crowded as they are now. So now it's just having to work a lot harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on to Financially Incorrect Business Edition and giving us, I guess, some good stories and definitely things I haven't had before about your business and where you guys have been. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please, if you do have any questions, please put them in the comments. We'll be sure to ask Flora and she can be able to get back to you guys. And also, we will put the link for the book when it is out in the description box here. And we'll put the link for the classes that they run and what they offer so you can be able to access them from here as well. Thank you guys, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday on the next episode of Financially Incorrect Business Edition.
And thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. You're a great host.
Thank you. Yeah. I will take that to the bank.
Do so.
Awesome.